this is Regina Ibrahim. She's a former graduate student at Stanford, now the Dean of Architecture and Engineering at the University of Malaysia, and until recently, on the terrorist watch list. In 2004, FBI agent Kevin Kelly came to her home and interviewed her. She was a student at Stanford at the time. He asked her about Jemaah Islamiyah, an organization in Malaysia on the State Department's list of designated foreign terrorist organizations. She said sure, she'd heard about them on the news. He asked her about her involvement in the local Muslim community. She told him where she and her family went to worship in the Bay Area. Regina was scheduled to participate in a Stanford-sponsored conference where she'd present her research. When she got to the airport, she found herself handcuffed and then detained. Ultimately, she was allowed to proceed to Hawaii and then to Malaysia afterwards as she'd intended, but when she tried to come back into the country, she couldn't. She spent the next 8 years trying to figure out why. The answer? That agent who'd interviewed her back in 2004 had filled out a form. On that form, he checked a box. That box was the wrong box. As the judge in Regina's case put it just recently, information in one database can travel pretty easily to another, sort of like a bad credit report that just doesn't go away. And in fact, that does seem to be what happened. Because the Justice Department has conceded she's not a threat, the Justice Department's confirmed that they've cleaned up all the errors from that agent's mistake, but the State Department just informed her that she can't enter the country. She's been denied a visa under a law barring people involved in, quote, terrorist activities from entering the US. It probably won't surprise you to hear that she doesn't know what those activities might be. That's an amazing story, right? And it only took me 90 seconds to tell it to you. 90 seconds is a typical length of a story on local TV. But people who watch local TV as their primary source of news probably didn't see this one. Because while local print publications have covered it, it's not yet appeared on any local TV channels. So why does this matter? Well, because local TV remains one of the most popular ways for American adults to get their news. In fact, a recent survey found that 71% of American adults watch local TV news over the course of a month. But local TV news audiences are also amongst the least informed news audiences. The truth is, there are tons of powerful, eye-opening stories about our legal system's impact on ordinary people like Regina. When I practiced law, I was so frustrated that those stories weren't getting told. But when I began spending time with journalists, I learned their frustrations. Legal stories are just really complicated. They're difficult to put into pictures. And outside of courthouses, they're almost impossible to find. So I created Briefly. Briefly helps TV journalists find the type of story that I just told. It asks people who have those stories to answer a few simple questions, such as, how would you headline this story? Why should people care? What are some possible visuals? Who's willing to be interviewed? With that information, TV journalists can quickly and easily determine if this is the type of story that they want to continue reporting. No journalist wants to miss a great, amazing story. And no lawyer I've ever met has wanted the public to not understand how our system works. So there is a way to connect them. That way is easy, and it doesn't have to take a lot of time for anyone. It's Briefly. Thanks.